tried these already, but I'm gonna give them another try because they tasted like nothing the first time I tried them, but I had already had a different brand before them. So I'm gonna light one of these up and I'm going to talk about depression and my current advice for depression. Having trouble with the box. Now these are supposed to be kind of like a mix between the Southern Cut and maybe a Marlboro Gold. It's pretty good. It's a bit light. And that was my initial complaint about it the first time I had it. So I want to start this off by saying that if you are chronically depressed, if you have an issue, if you have an issue with depression, you should deal with any chemical issues in your body. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about. But I want to preface this video by saying that I neither condone nor promote medication for depression. That is something that you need to do your own research on. And part of that research would be maybe consulting, or you should consult with a licensed practitioner. But I will say that you should, no matter what you do, you should always do your own research, because these days medication is very heavily prescribed, and prescribed at dosages that don't work for everyone. So you should definitely do your own research. There's multiple types of medication, there's multiple types of treatments, and that is why if you are going to take anything or do anything, whether it's, even if it's caffeine, I highly recommend that you get a blood test done, get your blood work, understand your hormones, because your hormones are a major factor in how you feel. This is an important topic. Hormones are very important, especially when talking about something like depression, because depression is your mood is determined a lot by the balance of serotonin, dopamine, and other hormones like testosterone and estrogen, and I urge you to do your own research on that. Doing research on, first of all, knowing your hormone levels and your overall health through blood work is extremely helpful. So that's what I'll say on that, is get your blood work done, figure out your hormones, because as far as medication goes, there's different types of medication for people who are chemically programmed to need different hormones. For example, if you're someone who responds well to dopamine-inducing medication or stimulants or things that increase your dopamine, you need to know that, because as far as medication goes, there's medication that increases dopamine, there's medication that increases dopamine and serotonin, there's medications that increase dopamine, or not dopamine, but serotonin and other hormones. I won't go into that. I'm not an expert. I know what I need because I've done the research on myself, but I'm not going to know what you specifically need. So you need to do your own research and find out for yourself. And part of it is going to be experimentation. Under correct supervision from someone who's licensed, of course. Hopefully that's not too loud. The other thing I'll say is medication is not a quick, easy fix for your problems. You should know that if you're going to take medication, you need to have the mindset of it being a background helper, and that you need to do everything else physically action-oriented in your life every day, whether or not you're taking medication. If you take medication and you expect your mental to change completely, that's not going to happen. You can't count on that. And that's how you take too much, or take the wrong dose, or think that it's not working and become even more overwhelmed. So that's that. So the first thing, if you're depressed, medication aside, chemistry aside, you have to be going to bed and getting up early. Going to bed early, getting up early, and sleeping regular hours. Having a sleep schedule. Even if you're sleeping 7 hours a day, and this depends on the person, how many hours you actually need. It's widely known that 7 to 8 is the right amount for most people. And taking things like melatonin and magnesium and other supplements, do your own research. That can help with your sleep. It can help you fall asleep when you need to fall asleep, and it can help you have better sleep. Sleep is imperative for a healthy body and a healthy mind. The overarching goal should be, first, to ensure that your lifestyle is promoting a semi-healthy body. You should not be sabotaging yourself and expecting to feel better. So sleep. Have a schedule. Get things done, obviously, but sleep ultimately. If you need to fix your mental, make sure that you're sleeping correctly and that you're not taking drugs that will alter that. Alcohol alters your sleep. Marijuana alters your sleep. And those things also impact your mental health. So do your research on that. But my advice is to steer clear of both of those things if you are dealing with mental health. Now, the next thing is to rid yourself, cleanse yourself of people who are not benefiting you in your life. This is important. If you hang around, if you are involved with people who are self-sabotaging themselves, do not expect that you can change. Because if you are entertaining these types of people, it means that you're feeding the mental state that you want desperately to get rid of, and that is hindering you from living life and progressing and being whole. You need to get rid of these people, and the easiest and quickest way, if you aren't living with these people, is to just stop talking to them. Stop answering. Just get rid of your contact with them. It's as simple as that. And if you can, surround yourself. If there are people in your life that you have access to that are successful and you perceive to be disciplined and not in a self-sabotaging cycle, then I suggest that you try to replace the bad with the good. And if not, and if you don't have those types of people, those good types of people in your life, then being alone is much better than being with people who are not helping you. It might seem like it's a better idea to not be alone, but you can feel much worse surrounded by people that keep you down. There's a fine line between support and sharing misery. And you can't stay sharing misery with people because you're never going to leave. Misery loves company. I'm sure you've heard that. Ultimately, your goal from now on should be to be independent, completely independent from other people. If you're relying on others for help and for emotional support, your goal should be to be self-sufficient. Relying on other people might seem like it can help if those people are actually helpful. But ultimately, if you are struggling with depression, that means that other people are not going to fix you. You have to fix yourself, and you need to fix yourself. So you need to remember that you are the only one who can fix yourself. Other people cannot fix you. Do not rely on other people. be independent. I'm gonna have to switch. That's better. If you are not exercising at least 150 minutes a week, which is about 20 minutes a day, and when I mean exercise, you can jog, you can lift weights, you can just, if you aren't moving, if you aren't walking 20 minutes a day, if you aren't moving 20 minutes a day, you are going to stay depressed. You have to move. Your spine carries all of your fluid and circulation. Your spinal fluid contains all the nutrients, and it contains all the nutrients for your brain, and it's a moving part. It needs to be moving in order for it to move up to your brain and to filter out the plaque or whatever dead cells that are in your brain. It has to filter, and it has to be moving in order to filter. If you're sitting all day and not being active for at least 20 minutes a day, you are inhibiting that. And like I said, you can jog, you can walk, you can do push-ups, you can do a combination. Just move for at least 20 minutes a day. And if you are overweight, you have to fix that. Being overweight is one of the most unhealthy things, the most unhealthy state of being physically that you can be. And it affects everything, including your hormones. And it will indefinitely, it will always affect your mood in various ways, not just mentally, because of the mental effects of being overweight. It's the physical too. You have to fix that. And that's part of getting your blood done and knowing about family diseases and whatnot. It's very important that you're not obese. And it's very important that you are active. You don't have to be thin, but you can't be overweight. And a big part of that, besides exercise, is diet and caloric deficit. not eating too much. I would recommend that you cut out, you don't need to cut sugar out completely, but minimize that as much as possible. And when you have sugar, avoid sugar and fat together. So anything like cookies or ice cream, those things should be avoided. And if you're going to eat sugar, eat pure sugar. Because when you eat fat with sugar, it inhibits the digestion of the glucose, and it lowers your metabolism. It basically just completely stores all the sugar as fat. And finally, this will be said every single video that I make, but you have to have purpose. You have to have a skill that you're developing. You have to have something to offer. You have to have a meaning in your life. It is not enough to try to be happy. You will not be happy. You have to have a reason for existing and for living each day. Because if you don't, then there's really no point. And that's what it feels like. In order for us to be happy, we have to have purpose and meaning in our life. We need to have a goal. You need to always have goals. You need to have an overarching long-term goal. And you have to have a clear path of how you're going to get there. And you don't need to know exactly, but you need to have the basic common sense understanding of what needs to be done. And that's why I say focus on a skill, because ultimately, if you find what you want to do in life, all you have to do is do that thing every day for 5 to 10 years, and you will be able to master it without. There's no magic to mastering something or to getting good at something. The magic is just doing it every day for years. And you do need years to do it. And that's why it's very important to understand when you're wasting time, how you're using your time, what are you doing. If you don't know, if you are not sure why you feel melancholic or depressed or like nothing matters, you need to understand that you need to know what you're doing. What are you doing every day? How are you spending your time? Are you watching it fly by? Are you watching it gush past? Because if you are a young person, you are richer than the richest man, because money can be made, money can be lost and made back, but time can never be gained back. You can never regain time lost. You need to remember that. In my experience, in terms of chemistry, I got my blood work done. I found out what my hormones were. I found out where my health was, and therefore I found out what I needed to do. A lot of the time, feeling hopeless is because you don't know what to do. And that's why it's important, it's imperative to find out everything about yourself and to know what the problems are, so then you can fix them. So through knowledge of my body, the current state of my body, and what my body needed, and also through experimentation, I found that for me, caffeine and nicotine gives me dopamine that I lack, and therefore gives me drive that I lack. That, combined with a diet that works for me, that doesn't give me gastrointestinal stress, which is very important. If you are eating in a way that causes bloating or distress to your gut, it definitely messes with your psyche. And I can say that firsthand, that fixing my diet, finding out what I need, how I need to eat, how much I need to eat, or how little, rather, and what kind of foods that I eat, the combinations of food or lack thereof. You know, separating foods from each other that when combined cause stress, but when eaten separately give energy and fuel. That is imperative. it can turn, it's the difference between a day of brain fog and inability, and it's a difference between that and a day of progress and ease. Yeah.